Yeah, okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it pays good. I don't want that load. Find something else. Knowing when to say no to freight. We're gonna talk about it. There you go.
Wiggy, 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 wiggy. Hold up, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. Wiggy, 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 wiggy. Hold up, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. Stand up in the motor, bust the dashboard. Stand up in the motor, bust the dashboard. Hold up, wiggy, 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 wiggy. Oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way. Counters burning, money burning.
Welcome back, y'all, to another edition of On Point Trucking Concepts with your main man, LoShawn Parks. Y'all could have been anywhere else in the world, but y'all here rocking out with me, and I do appreciate that. Now, you guys are going to see the little I symbol right here above me. If you guys want to go ahead, as a donation tab to help support my channel, LoShawn Parks' On Point Trucking Concepts channel. If you like the content is very informational and helpful to you, then go ahead and donate. Hit that tab button and donate. I appreciate all donations. I figure that this is a better way to do it than charging for content. Just go ahead and put a donation tab, because I don't know everybody's situation. Your situation may grant where you can pay $10, $20, $30, and your situation may grant where you can only pay $1 or $2. Your situation may grant where you don't have it right now, but you would love to do it later on, so that'll be available. And I do truly do appreciate the donations. Real quick, 15 seconds, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a quick self commercial of the YTTA merchandise store. A lot of people have been asking me where to get the YTTA merchandise store, merchandise stuff from. So I'm gonna do a video real quick. For all your YTTA apparel, go to the link in the description box below. Go shop, search, have fun. You know, get you some of that flyness, get you some of that good wear. You know what I'm saying? Back. Let's go and get into the video today. Okay, our video today is about knowing when to say no to freight. Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. A lot of people are going to misconstrue this maybe and say, oh, well, you know, you're just being picky, or not everybody's situation is like that, you can't always do it. I want to go ahead and say that this video is going to be mainly for lease drivers, owner-operators. This is not going to be geared towards company guys, okay? Because company guys, for the most part, are forced dispatch. For the most part, they're forced dispatch. They really can't kick down any loads or reject any loads. But lease drivers and owner-operators, we're allowed to reject freight and choose freight as we go and stuff of that nature. Now, a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, Prime's not really a real like lease place to go to, because you don't really get to see your load. You get a load from the load planners or your dispatcher, and then you can accept if you want it or you want to reject it. And this is true. At Prime, we don't have a list of loads that you can look at when your dispatcher sends it to you. All you can do is look at the load, at what it is, do your math, do your calculations, and decide if you want that load or not. As a lease operator, you have that option in your clause as a lease driver at Prime to reject freight. It's no forced dispatch. But at Prime, the thing is, they want to know why you don't want it, okay? A lot of your dispatchers may think that, you know, you're doing it out of spite, out of something of that nature. Me, when I reject the freight, it's because I didn't did my numbers already. I didn't figured out what my cost is to run my operation. I didn't figured out what kind of freight is coming out of that next area that I'm going into. And pretty much, if I know that I'm going into an area that the freight is really low in that area, or freight is really scarce in that area, and I want to be getting a good rate going into it. I've, you know, indicated this before. I want to get a good rate going into it, because I'm going to kind of like have to take a little bit of a loss coming out of there. So I don't ever want to take any freight that's mediocre into an area that's not going to pay good coming out of. All right. Prime example. That's pretty good. Prime example. A prime example is that I was given a load, or asked a load for this weekend, to take it from Charlotte, North Carolina to Des Moines, Iowa. Okay, now for flatbed and Prime, I don't know about for everybody else's flatbed division, but for Prime's flatbed division, Des Moines, Iowa area is really not that great with freight. We do have a couple of shippers out there that, you know, they will ship, but the freight you're going to be looking at, like, I don't know, low, maybe $1.20, $1.30 maybe. Okay, so the rate is really not really that great to be sacrificing. So I don't want to take something mediocre like they tried to give me a load from Charlotte for $1.52 going to Des Moines, Iowa, and I know that that's like mediocre freight. So if I want to go to that area that's not going to really be paying that great coming out of, why not take something? I want something like $1.70, $1.80, $2, or something of that nature. I don't want to be taking mediocre freight into the area where it's not going to pay so great. So nevertheless, they tried to give me that load, and I didn't accept it because after I did my numbers, it was $1.52 to take it a mile. And then, like I said, with me knowing out of Iowa, I'm going to get somewhere about $1.20, $1.30. And the thing about this is this: you have to be firm when you're saying no to your freight. Okay, you have to be very, very firm because your dispatcher is going to try to make it seem like you should take the load. That's just the nature of the beast. That's their job. Okay, some dispatchers may not say much to you, but I've been with my dispatcher for 3 years, and still at times he acts as if I'm not making the right decision, and I know my numbers. You can't force me or make me think that I'm not doing the right thing, okay? If my numbers don't add up, I don't take it. It's just what it is, and I don't feel bad about not taking it. And that's the thing that you have to do is your numbers and make sure that you don't feel bad about taking it, because if you do and you don't do your numbers and your dispatcher talks to you about it, then your dispatcher will actually persuade you into taking it. You know what I mean? Because he'll make you feel bad about yourself, or make you feel like the company really needs you to take this freight. And if you're a lease driver or an operator, the company is going to move that freight. Okay, regardless, it's going to get moved. The reason why it's going to get moved is because if so many lease operators reject it, then it's got to get moved, guaranteed, because they pretty much have bought that freight already. So what they're going to do is they're going to ship it over to a company driver to eventually get it. Once it gets rejected about 3 or 4 times from a lease driver, then they're just going to hand it to a company driver, and the company driver is going to be forced to go get it. Okay, it's just that's the nature of the beast. Okay, the nature of the beast is this: these major companies want to give it over to the lease guys first, and they don't really want to take a it's kind of funny. They don't want to take a loss on their end, okay? Because everything is a business. That's why I try to tell you guys that you got to look at your leasing as a business, okay? Major companies are not going to, they're going to look at their business as a business, okay? So with them looking at it like that, you got to look at your business as a business. And if they're marketing stuff to you first, then make sure that you do your numbers and you accept what makes sense and you don't accept what doesn't make sense. Because at the end of the day, even if you reject it, that freight's going to move, okay? It's going to move. It's going to get moved by a company driver. He's going to go get it for 41 cents, all right? So then with it being 41 cents, the company is going to, I don't know, for instance, mine was paying $1.52, so they're paying 41 cents. So then that means that the company Prime is going to make $1.13 off of it, where they try to give it to me for $1.52. And then the deadhead in that area, if I want to get to something that's decent, I would have to go to Chicago, which is like 300, it would have been 332 miles from Iowa, which is a whole lot of deadhead, okay? That takes up a whole lot of drive time, and the deadhead is your fuel that you're spending, okay? The company's not paying for that fuel, not as a lease operator. Now, as a company driver, then the company drivers, the company's going to pay for that deadhead, but you got to think about it like this. They're not going to deadhead their driver, their company driver, 332 miles to Chicago to get a load. They're just going to stay within that Iowa frame and grab those loads and pay him 41 cents, and that's just going to make up the differential for their fuel. That's just what's going to happen. But as an owner operator or as a lease driver, you're responsible for all that fuel. At the end of your settlement, it comes out, period. So make sure that you make smart and wise decisions. Don't just jump on something because you get a load that's going out to Sunnyside, California, but then yet it don't pay, but you just want to go out to Sunnyside, California because you want to be out in the sun. But knowing that when you go out to California flatbed, you're going to be stuck out there for about 2 weeks. And if you can make it out of California without being in the hole on the flatbed side, you did a damn good job. Because most time, you go out to California and you're a solo driver, you're going to be stuck out there for a minute. It happens, okay? Now, teams is different because they can run you east to west and west to east. So if you're training and you're doing flatbed with Prime, it really works out really well, because if you go out to the west, you can get back out of there and go to the east. But no problems. But as a solo driver, you're pretty much going to be trapped over on that west for a little bit of time. And if you're just going because you want to get some sun, I mean, sun can show up everywhere. So make sure that you're traveling for a good purpose and a good reason of making that money. So know when to say no to freight. Okay, understand that the freight is still going to get moved, regardless if you say no. And a lot of people are going to look at it like, well, I'm trying to build a good rapport with my dispatcher, and that is very key. That is very key. But at the same time, you're running a business, you're running an operation where every dollar, every cent, everything is key in value to your business, to your operation. Okay, because at the end of the day, your dispatcher, he has 75 drivers or so. He's getting a percentage of those loads that each of his driver does. That makes his paycheck. Okay, end of the day, and he's going home at the end of the day. He gets a paycheck at the end of the week. Now you could be that individual that if you're taking all this bad freight and you're really not really knowing what's going on, you know what I mean, and you're just moving freight because you're that individual that doesn't reject freight. I just don't reject any freight, you know, then you're going to be that individual that makes the $500 and $600 and $700 paycheck every week as a lease operator, and you're going to be wondering why, and you're going to be the one that's talking a lot of crap about the company, saying that this company doesn't make money. But it's not that the company doesn't make money, it's that you accept everything that that company gives you. If you're going to accept everything that the company gives you, then you might as well be a company driver. Okay, you need to utilize your privilege of being a lease driver. And your privilege of being a lease driver is to do your numbers. And if the numbers don't make sense to you or don't make your dollar amount figure that you want to make, then you need to reject the load. Simple as that. I hope that the information I just gave you guys was very valuable. So today I'm just talking about knowing when to say no to freight. Some of this freight you have to say no to. Okay, you have to grow a backbone for. And I already hear it in my head. People asking me, well, what is the number that you think I should use to run, you know, as a number to run with? That all depends on you and your situation. Everybody's situation is different. For a guy that may be single, he may not need, you know, a high number. For the guy such as myself that may have a family with a few kids and a wife and, you know, got certain bills back at the house, then your number is going to go up, of course, because you need more to support your family. So everybody's situation is different. What it boils down to is you need to know what your cost is to run your operation on a daily basis. And basically, how do you do that? You calculate your bills and you divide your bills total for what your bills is for the month and everything like that. You take all your bills for the month, right? Or whatever you want to do, even your food expense or whatever. You take all your bills for the month and you divide that by 30. That total, you take the total number of what all your bills is total. So if your total bills for the month is including your truck and stuff like that, you just put all that stuff. Bills is bills. Don't matter how you want to. Do I include my truck note? Yeah, that's a bill, right? You got to pay a truck note, right? Do I include my fixed costs? That's a bill. Any bill, just figure out what all of your trucking expenses stuff is, your at home expenses is. You add all of that up, put it all in a number, divide it by 30, and that's how much your truck needs to make in a daily basis. Okay, and then how do you figure out what it is on a daily basis? You need to figure out how much you need to make in a week. Okay, just a little bit of tips. I'm not going to go into details on that because I'm actually going to go more into details on how to break that down in another video. This is just a quick snippet, maybe leading up to that next video, and maybe the next video I do is how to break down your numbers, figuring out what it costs to run your truck. That'll probably be the next video I'll do next weekend. But I'm about to skedaddle. We are at the 15-minute mark, and I don't want to make my videos too long. You guys know I like to make like about 15 minutes. I know some of them does run up to about 20 minutes, but if I can control it as much as I can, then I try to do that. But before I get ready to go, get my vape in. Speaking of vape, I'm gonna be doing a vaping video explaining a website that you guys can go to get starter kits from if you guys are looking into getting into vape starter kits from, vape juices, stuff like that. If you guys use a promotional code that I have, you guys will save yourself 15% off of your entire order, which I think is pretty dope. All right, without further ado, man, I'm gonna skedaddle, go finish spending time with the family, and I'll get at you guys later. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do, like drive illegal. I'll holler at y'all next weekend. Peace out.
You do what you want when you pop it.